On this episode of Through the Pines, we'll cover saving for your kids' future, including Trump accounts. What are they? What are their features and their contributions, etc.? What about 5 to 9 plans, custodial accounts, Roth IRA for kids, and investment strategies? Welcome to a financial planning podcast with down-to-earth vibe. Sasquatch listens while writing his New Year's resolutions. This is Through the Pines. We welcome back our financial advisors this week. We have Rex from Disneyland shirt. Representing here, yeah. Tell you what. And Brandyn from planwithbaxter.com. So if you would like to follow up with them, go to planwithbaxter.com. They are the 2023, 24, and 25 Forbes Best in State Wealth Management Teams for the whole entire state of Utah. The Advisor Hub's fastest growing advisors to watch under $1 billion, and the receivers of the Ameriprise Client Experience Award. I just heard that this morning, Rex, Elon Musk's net worth, whatever, went up, I don't know how many billions again today. And I need you to get more than $1 billion under management, because his went up like 30 billion in a day or something. You can't do 30 billion in a day under management. Like, what's going on?
Hey, we're working on it. We're working on it. We just need a few more of you to call in a little more frequently, and we'll get there sooner.
Okay, yeah. So. A few more of the billionaires to call in, and it happens a little faster.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you have kids, and you've done a lot of planning for your kids financially, but you know what you didn't have? You didn't have these Trump accounts.
You didn't.
And I don't even know what the hell they are. So let's dive into the Trump accounts. We'll start there. Brandyn, I don't know if you had like the details or the definition or something. Like, let's just set the stage of what they are. Yeah. And then we can kind of go into, because we were running the numbers right before, and they can create significant wealth if used properly.
Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on. So the Trump accounts, they're a new type of account. So most people are familiar with 529 accounts or UTMA accounts. There's various things, and we're actually going to cover those at the end of the podcast, just because I think it's good to still know what options people have. But the One Big Beautiful Bill Act created these new, people are calling them Trump accounts, and essentially it's a way to save money for a child's future into what will become essentially a traditional IRA.
Okay, so they're not literally called Trump account. What's the name actually called? Do you know?
No, they are literally called Trump accounts.
They really
right
are
now.
literally called. Okay.
Now, that being said, the caveat is that we haven't seen the IRS, private letter rulings and opinions come out, and so some of the details are still a little bit blurry.
Okay.
At the moment, and they could still change.
Well, they got to put that into like
the account at some point.
500-page document or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably just a summary.
Jeez. Okay.
Well, and so they're not going to start being available until July 4th, 2026.
But okay, July 4th, 2026. So this coming year, but the framework is there? Do we know the framework and some of the rules behind it?
Yeah. So we know a lot of the rules and kind of what to expect on those. But like Rex said, right, there's always details that people are like, wait, what about this, right? Mm-hmm. But effectively, what you're getting is an account that you can save into. Some of it gets seeded by various things, and we'll talk about that. But you can save into it, and it becomes effectively a traditional IRA. And someone might say, well, why don't you just do a traditional IRA for, your child in the first place? And the answer is you have to have earned income to save into a traditional IRA.
That's right.
And so unless the child had some earned income, right, you'd have to, and people would try and
give kids jobs to.
Right. But the problem with that is now you have to like run that through payroll.
Child labor.
Right. Sure, right. And so this kind of allows you to bypass this. Now, this is not a Trump Roth IRA. That'd be too many politicians in one
in one title.
There's a rule against that.
Right,
I think.
right.
Yeah.
and so this is just a traditional IRA, but it'll be interesting. We can talk through a lot of kind of what they are and how they work and how to fund those.
Love it. Rex, do you know what prompted this, and why did this make it into the big beautiful bill? What was he thinking?
Well, I think he's thinking about how inflation has impacted the economy and impacted the younger generations over the years, and how difficult it is to pay for college, and how difficult it is for this next generation to buy a house, and are they going to be prepared for retirement? And so as he was, I believe, and I'm taking a positive slant on this, but I believe that he was looking at that and trying to say, okay, what can we as a government do to try and assist with some of these financial issues that these next generations are going to have? And I think that that's what it was born out of. And at the same time, I think he was looking at, okay, look, we can generate, in his mind, we can generate a certain amount of revenue from tariffs and from other sources, including taxes. And so how do we give that back effectively to the people? And I think that that's kind of the thought process that was being considered at the time that this was being put in place.
Okay, fair. And I also think that in 2043, which is 18 years from now, that his approval ratings will go up.
Yeah, he won't be around, but that Trump name, it'll last. So,
okay, so yeah, brand new tax advantage accounts for minors starting July 4th. Funny, okay. 2026, created under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and designed to help families build wealth. So, what are some of the key features, Brandon?
Yeah. So you need to be a U.S. citizen under the age of 18. And then new to this, and this will be interesting to watch this roll out, but essentially the government is going to seed money for kids that are born between 2025 and 2028 with $1,000. So that's a one-time payment that goes into the account. Anyone born in those years essentially gets $1,000 put into account for them from the government.
Like you get paid to have a baby.
No, you don't get paid. The baby gets an account with $1,000.
Oh, the baby gets paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just for being, born.
Being born in America.
Right.
Being under a U.S. citizen. Okay, cool.
Yep, they get $1,000. Now, in addition to that,
happy birthday.
Yeah. Made a bunch of news, right? But the Dell, I think it's the Dell Foundation, made a donation and essentially said anyone that lives in a certain zip code with median income less than $150,000, right? And so you'd have to look that up. And
per household?
Yes.
Yep.
Per household.
Okay.
If you live within that zip code, you'll get an extra $250. So effectively, right, if you've got someone who's born in the right zip code during those right years, they essentially automatically get $1,250 in one of these Trump accounts that starts growing for them. And that can actually turn into some pretty good money over time.
Yeah, and we're going to run the numbers here on that, and because it's significant. But Rex, I'm not a billionaires hater. I don't think you are.
I'm not.
Okay. But also, this is an example of a billionaire. Is this a clean slate? Is Dell just making it up for all the other billionaires because he's giving back to everyone? Like, no one can complain about the billionaires anymore.
Well, I think at least he's putting some money where his mouth is.
100% is.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of people complain about, the billionaires and avoiding the taxes and how did they get there on the backs of everybody else and things like that. And I think this is his way of saying, hey, look, I'm committed to this. I want to see the next generation be successful, and this is something that we can financially, withstand and not ruin our family's wealth or things like that. And so we'd rather do it through this process rather than have it taken through, possibly an estate tax or a death tax, or whether it's, gone through a charitable foundation and given to other charities around the world.
Is he donating money to the government? Like, how does it work?
I'm not sure the details on that, but I think that that's the essence of it.
Okay.
Is that essentially I think he's gifting money through the Treasury Department to these accounts, because the Treasury Department is the department that's handling the Trump accounts. That's who's facilitating this process.
And has there been any numbers that come out on like how much overall in the end he's going to potentially give away?
He did have a number.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that number is.
I'm just curious.
Offhand. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it billions? Like a lot of money or millions? We'll look it up.
I don't remember.
Okay, so you got to be a U.S. citizen under 18. The government seed money is $1,000 for kids born now, right?
Right. I just had
Is
a
it back?
grandbaby this
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
I didn't personally have a grandbaby. My daughter had a baby.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Grandpa.
you. And so she will qualify for these Trump accounts.
So you just fill out a form, or is this a tax form? We
July
don't know
4th is coming up.
yet. Okay.
Yeah.
So the details
find out.
We'll find out.
find out.
Okay.
So,
I mean, is this part of like the birth paperwork, maybe in 2026 after July 4th? Like you fill this out and here you go. This sets up your IRA or Trump account for your child.
so my understanding is that it's automatic. And so,
Okay.
the way that they're going to do that is with the birth certificate. When they're born, children are issued Social Security numbers. And so essentially they're going to scan those Social Security numbers that are born, during 25, 26, 27, 28.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that will get the seed money. And then at the same time, they'll look at the zip code of where the birth occurred and where the household is to see if they qualify for the Dell additional.
Okay, so this is like in the weeds, and I don't know how many people will care about this, but where does the money come from? Like the government just like there's like a cash transfer from the Treasury to Social Security number of the baby now.
Yeah, there's this thing called taxes that we all pay.
Well, I know that, right? but
That's where it comes
apparently
from.
a lot of that is wasted. I could be wrong, but I mean, or gets lost or whatever. That's one of the things is like, well, where's the money coming from to do this?
But that's where it comes from, right? Is the taxes as well as my understanding is the tariffs are all being funneled through the Treasury Department is where those are going through, and then those are budgeted out through the budgetary process into the different departments, Department of Defense and Department of Education, all those kinds of things. And this now is one of those budget line items that's getting X amount of dollars.
Wild.
And that's usually why they have that end date on it, right?
Yeah.
Like more likely than not, they continue it on right after that 2028 time frame. But each time you continue it on, you've got to budget more money for it.
How many people? What about this baby boom in like late 2000? It goes through 2028. So like everyone's going to try to have their kids in late 2028.
I don't know that people adjust their family planning for $1,000.
Well, because it's not just $1,000, as we will find out in the end, because you can.
But that's the question, right?
Up.
Is if I have to be in a zip code where the median income's under $150,000,
Are you moving? Like,
do I change where I have my baby?
No, because it costs so much
I
more
want
money.
this hospital on the west side of the tracks instead of the east side of the tracks.
Yeah.
Some people will, Rex. Like some people will. But Brandon, you got numbers for us on that?
Yeah. So the donation was $6.25 billion. Is what what they donated for that, right? That's not the government portion. That's the Dell portion. And another interesting part on the Dell thing is that is for kids under age 10 in those zip codes.
Okay.
Right now, for the $1,000 government one, that's you need to be born in that 2025 to 2028.
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity if you're in one of those zip codes, you could actually go out and if you've got a bunch of kids that are under 10, you can actually file for that.
I'm confused. Eligibility is U.S. citizens under 18, but you have to be born between 25 and 28.
Good question. Yeah. So to open the account, you need to be under age 18. To get the Dell contribution, you need to be under age 10. And to get the government contribution, you need to be born within 20.
So you can open an account if you're 17.
Yeah, you could open for if you got teenagers, you can open an account for all of them.
Okay.
Even if you're in a wealthy zip code, you just don't get any money auto funded for you.
Got you.
You can go and save your own money into it, right?
Love
and get that tax deferred growth for them.
Yep. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. All right. And then, this is good. So contributions are what? What are the numbers we're looking at here?
$5,000 per year aggregate between family, friends, employers, governments, charities, right? So you can save up to $5,000 per year. So similar to an IRA, right, where you can save $7,000 to $8,000 per year, depending on age and things like that. This one just has a $5,000 limit. So
pro tip: set up a QR code so that people and send that out on the birthdays and and stuff, and like donate here to the annual. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Per recipient, right?
Per recipient,
So my granddaughter can receive up to $5,000 per year from multiple sources, but we can't, as a family or a community or whatever the case may be, she can't receive more than $5,000 per year.
Yeah, but that's a good chunk of change to grow over time.
It is. It is. It's a lot.
Interestingly, employers are capped at $2,500 per year. for the employer contribution to kids. So if like you have an employer that one day, and this doesn't really happen today, but might start, where employer says, hey, and we'll also donate, $1,000 per year to your kids' accounts, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they're capped at $2,500. Nonprofits and local governments can also donate. They have an uncapped donation, obviously within that $5,000 restriction. But it's interesting. They have to direct it to a specific group, such as children in a particular geographic area or a certain demographic, which is kind of an interesting concept, right? And I think we'll have more information on that as these become more available. But that is right now kind of where nonprofits are sitting. And then finally, there's a salary deferral contract.
So you can have salary deferral set up on the businesses as well. The businesses have the ability, just like your 401k plan, they have the ability to set up salary deferral to where it comes straight from your paycheck and it goes into the Trump account, wherever that's housed.
Right.
So.
Okay, so it's going. So we got investments now. Who's in charge of these investments, Rex? Like in what?
So that's a great question, right?
Okay.
It's that we don't have clarity on that perfectly yet.
Okay.
The only piece of the clarity that we have so far is that it's low cost index funds, and so the speculation out there right now is that it will be an S&P 500 fund, or they may have, similar to the thrift savings plan, they may have a CS&I fund, an S&P 500 or a common stock fund, an international fund, and a small cap fund, or some kind of mixture that you may be able to do. Because
we talked about this when, was it Bush threw out the idea of having our Social Security, we had control over that. And so, but this is essentially that, right, for the kids?
Similar, right? It's a retirement account. It says Social Security, it's a retirement account, an IRA account. A unique piece to this, and there's a lot of those, but at age 18, they can actually take it or roll it into an IRA account. So they do have an early exit window.
They can take it at 18 and they just pay the taxes on it and all that?
Well, right. Yeah. Effectively, it becomes an IRA.
Okay.
And can you pull money out from an IRA? Yes, but there are certain limitations and right,
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of just the next section we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. At age 18, it converts into an IRA, and then the regular rules apply. So you got, obviously, if you just say, "Hey, I want to pull money out of my IRA," can you do that? Sure, but you've got your 10% penalty, and then it's taxable, right? Mm-hmm. So that would show up as taxable income to you. And a lot of this is still maybe a little speculative, right? Because these are just the rules they've given us, and so we'll see how that gets refined. But then in an IRA, right, you can pull money out for a first-time home purchase, right? You can pull $10,000 out. You can pull it out and waive the penalty for education expenses, right? For qualified education expenses. And so my guess is it'll be interesting to see how all these laws and things morph, especially over time as potentially more kids start having money, right, when they turn 18 and what those regulations and limitations are, because we see them change all the time. But as it stands right now, that's kind of, I think part of the plan is that you can grow this money until you're 18. It turns into an IRA. You can kind of get to it if you want it for education, home expenses, but maybe ideally that gets preserved, some of it at least, for retirement.
Wow. Okay, so on the distributions, that sounds fantastic because we're starting to solve some problems that we have right now, like how do I buy a house, and they're going to have money, hopefully, but there's $1,000 for some, and then there's nothing for others, right? So how's this going to go over in society in 10 years, Rex?
Well, right. I mean, my brain just goes a million different places, right? Because not only are they kind of picking and choosing who the winners and losers are of the government funding.
Yeah.
Right.
Funded by everybody else.
Funded by everybody else's
Right.
tax dollars,
Yeah.
and they're cherry picking which zip codes get that, right? Although a median income of $150,000 covers the vast majority of zip codes across America.
Okay.
Right. And that's only the $250 that's under that, right?
Right.
The $1,000 seed money is your
Isn't
birth
subject
date,
to that, and so
when you were born.
right. But that's only for those people born during that 4-year
Well,
period.
good luck stopping this in
during-
2028, politicians.
during
'cause-
Trump's
Right,
terms.
right.
And so, but then it also goes to a little bit of, again, do people move to go certain areas? Do they, it's just, do they elect politicians that may local politicians that decide, hey, look, we'll fund more into, these kids' accounts for all of you if you vote for me, right? I mean, where does this go?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Is there more bullying in the class of whatever? Is the 1 year younger, they all have like $7,000 sitting in their account that just was given to them, and the other class is just like, I don't have a penny to my name.
Right.
Does that cause like, I don't know, right? We'll see.
Well,
does a nonprofit get government funding, federal grants to fund the nonprofit organization, and then that nonprofit picks certain demographics to funnel the federal grant money into? I don't, there's just a lot of these unknown questions that are
now,
out
how
there.
does it affect you as a financial planner? Because there's not an opportunity for the financial planners to help the kids because it's not going to be managed by anyone, right?
It will, yeah. So it starts out at the Treasury, but then they're going to push it to private custodians
At 18 or
no, they're like earlier that can manage it, and they've put caps on how much advisors can charge and things. But yeah, they do plan to push that into the private.
They have an aggressive goal to have that ability by July 4th. I'm not sure that they'll hit that goal.
Yeah.
But their goal is to allow, investment firms, banks, financial institutions to be able to house these accounts
okay.
for the people.
This is insane.
We don't need to.
Yeah.
We're all right.
No, I know. But now what happens if a financial planner screws things up?
Well, but you can't, right? And so it's not as if a financial planner is going to charge a fee to oversee it, because they don't allow that.
Just the 10 basis points.
Just up to 10 basis points for the index fund cost.
Okay.
Right? And that's just an internal expense on the exchange traded fund or the mutual fund that the government has allowed to be an investment inside of that account.
So you're setting up your kids' marketing accounts now? Like you're setting up the marketing, like, hey, we'll help you with your kids' Trump accounts and.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how this develops, right? Because I think that those families that have the financial ability to contribute to that on a year after year basis, a lot of them will be using financial advisors for other things.
Yeah.
And so in order to keep things under one umbrella, my guess is financial advisors will facilitate that. But the firms aren't going to get paid any money to do it. So there's not a financial incentive for an investment house to house these accounts. Initially, until they get rolled into an IRA account when they're 18. Yeah. And then there's a massive financial incentive at that point that you have to be really careful of, because at that point, it then can go into a myriad of different kinds of investments and products. And so that's where I think, people have to be really careful.
I know this is weird, but not everyone in the United States is going to hear this podcast.
What?
You told us?
We're just shy. I know. There was a few people out there. I promised. I know. I didn't. I know. But I think I kind of pay attention to things, in the political news arena. I had no idea what's going on with these accounts. And so when they roll these out and people all of a sudden have these accounts and have money in this account, who's delivering the information? How can people learn about what in the hell's even going on?
Yeah, I think there'll be a big marketing campaign from the government as we get closer to that July 4th, because they're going to want that positive public perception going into, especially because it's also a midterm election year next year, right?
Yeah.
And so they're going to, my guess is that they'll publicize the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Is my guess. And so I think that there'll be a lot of information out there forthcoming as we get into the second quarter of 26.
Okay. Because I'm sure maybe we get statements. Maybe a statement is mailed to a person's house. It just says, here's your money from the
I think it'll be electronic. I think they'll save on paper, but I think that you'll have a quarterly. I think you'll have a quarterly statement available that you can look online to see what your balance is and see, as far as to track it and watch it and educate. And
as far as fraud goes, the parents can't access it until a certain age?
Yeah, they're unaccessible until they're 18.
Okay.
And at 18, as it converts into that IRA, and again, there's still a little bit of a blurry line there as to, does it have to convert to an IRA? Can I pull it out and get it out without a penalty, which is my understanding that you can. at 18 and take it for education or for a house or for different things like that. And so, again, some of that ambiguity will be cleared up over the next few months. But, yeah, you can't touch it until you're over 18 is my understanding.
Couple numbers on that, right? So if you, let's just say you
Wait. We're going to get to the numbers.
These are not s'more numbers.
No, we're going to do s'more numbers first.
Okay. And then more numbers after.
Yeah, because this could be millions and millions of dollars if you do the right thing with these accounts, right, Rex?
Yeah, this is a large opportunity for those that have the ability to fully fund them.
If that's the caveat, is if you can fully fund it, it could potentially, it has the opportunity, using the right math, to create millions and millions of dollars.
Wow, there's a lot of ifs in that statement.
We have to couch it a lot, I guess, but it is like you have to fully fund it.
Yeah,
and then the math has got a math. But if the when the maths are like the right returns or whatever,
if we get the right returns, right,
then it's a lot of money.
Yeah, then
all right,
it can be life changing.
Some more numbers, Brandon.
But first, some more numbers.
Dun, 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 dun.
So this is according to Deloitte. Americans plan to spend an average of we should really throw this out for
do you want to challenge us?
Yeah.
So don't give us the amount yet.
Right,
but tell us what it's for.
What's the average that Americans plan to spend this holiday season on holidays
in total
this year? Yep.
Ooh, I'm gonna say $5,200.
Sheesh.
I am way low. I'm like $700 to $800.
Hey, and we kind of come in the middle. $1,595.
$1,500.
$1,600. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Ramen
Rex,
noodles.
you're in the
But
wrong
man,
crowd.
you got Rex is in that other zip code that doesn't qualify.
Yeah.
Man,
That's
Christmas
fair.
at Rex is
He also has a big family. So
That's
he's kinda
true.
like,
Big family.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, when you account for
all the kids.
right per rata,
$200
Yeah,
a kid.
I mean, you said what, 1,300? Is that what you said?
16.
1,600. So a
1,600.
family of 4, 400 per kid. Family of 9. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I can see how I
And
get
growing, by
that
the way,
number
so,
and growing.
Yeah, and grandkids.
That's okay. So $1,600 for Christmas, huh?
Yeah,
on average.
which is actually down from last year. Down about 10% from last year, which was $1,778. Kind of interesting.
Okay, that's interesting.
All right, some more numbers. Now let's get into more numbers. If you fund these Trump accounts properly, what can we expect, Brandon?
Yeah, so let's start at the minimum, right? So let's say you live in an appropriate zip code, you're born in those years, you start out with $1,250. At age 18, that assuming about a 10% rate of return,
You add nothing to it.
You had nothing to it.
Okay.
Yep. That turns into about $7,500.
$7,500.
Yep.
18
at age
years old.
18. If you decide, hey, I'm just going to let that grow, I'm not going to touch it from 18 to 65.
Pretend like it never happened.
Right. Yep.
It's rolled into an IRA account. You keep it still in that market index.
Yep.
10%.
No one even tells you got it. You just let it ride.
Yep.
Okay.
Grows to $809,000 at 65.
And Lord knows what retirement will be at that time. That might be middle age for,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Could
But-
be.
But yeah, and so that's a lot of time, right? And so 809,000 then is not the same as 809,000 today.
Sure.
Might be closer to 200,000 to 400,000, right? Equivalent.
Yeah.
Probably closer to 200,000. But still, a lot of Americans don't have 200,000,
And
right?
money you didn't have to do.
Not a penny of contribution.
Bonus bucks.
The trick is going to be having self-discipline enough to leave it.
Right.
Because that's where everyone is really good at rationalizing.
To not only leave it and not touch it, but also to leave it invested in an aggressive index, right?
Yeah,
Where you're going to
ride
have
the ups and the downs of the
how
market.
many 40% downturns are you going to have in that 65 years?
Right.
We didn't even talk about that. Like how many people are going to want to pull money out
Right.
because
they've never invested before.
Right.
They start talking to friends. They're like, "Yep, I just know the whole economy's crashing." You know what I mean? And you start doing that. Like, I got to protect my kids' money. And next thing you know, right, you're looking at your returns and you didn't get 10, you got 2.
Okay, that's another story. All right, but if we fully fund it, now what are we looking at?
Yep. So if we fully fund this, and this is so essentially you
This is crazy.
take whatever seed money is given to you, and you top it off until you hit $5,000 every year from birth until age 18. That grows into $250,000 at age 18.
At age 18. And then can you continue to contribute after age 18?
Oh, great question. Yeah, we're assuming that you don't, right? That this just rolls into an IRA. However, if this rolls into an IRA, then depending on, I mean, there's, limitations on IRA contributions, but usually you can save another, $7,000 per year in today's dollars, right? Into an IRA. So you could continue to fund it, but we're not assuming that. You fund it. Your parents fund it $5,000 per year until age 18, grows to $250,000. Then we just
so you got $250,000-ish in the bank at 18.
Yep.
And you just pretend like it doesn't exist and let it grow.
Yep.
Until 65, which is at that point in time you're like equivalent to 45 now probably, but anyway. Age-wise, our bodies and health and all that stuff. People are retiring at like 105. Anyway, what do we have at 65, Brandon?
Yeah, at 65. So just assuming a 10% growth rate, you grow to $26.95 million.
Wow. Ignoring those ups and downs.
Dang, that's so much money.
Yeah.
$26 million, which who knows what the equivalent would that be, but who's got...
I mean, that's a
lot of money.
Dramatic.
Yeah.
But that's let's go back, right? Like, that's quite a significant contribution from parents.
How much is that a month?
Parents.
Which is 5,000 divided by 12.
$417 or so
per kid too. So, or whatever.
Yeah, 417, Rex.
Oh man, Rex.
Man. 416 and 67 cents.
That Weber State math coming through.
Leaving that calculator open on your phone is paying off.
Yeah, it just seeps into me.
Love it. Okay, well that can create wealth. This is nice. I like this plan.
It has a lot of potential to create a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
If you start early and you're dedicated towards that savings. Now, unfortunately, a lot of families aren't going to be in a position to max fund that, right? I mean, $417 a month
per kid.
Per kid.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe you pick your favorite kid. I don't know. But I'm just joking.
Yeah. 100%. It's like,
hey, when you're 65, you got to take care of everybody else.
You didn't mow the lawn. You didn't do the dishes. You're not getting the contribution this month. So.
You can take those numbers and cut them in half, and they still don't look bad, though. Either,
sure.
Right.
Sure.
So,
yeah. 200 even a month is good. Okay. Very good. Love this, Rex. All right. Anything else on the Trump accounts? I mean, actually, there's a lot more on the Trump accounts, but for today, because there's a lot we don't know.
Yeah, I think still a to be continued, right? And so we'll probably want to do another podcast here in about 6 months.
July 4th.
Yeah, maybe celebrate America's birthday,
Yep.
right? With the new Trump accounts and some more details.
Okay. Love it. All right. Other options to save for your kids' future include the old standbys, and these are like 529s, Brandon.
Yeah, I thought it'd be worth just mentioning these, and we're not going to go into crazy detail. We have other podcasts where we have. But essentially, your 529 plan is another really good option. Kind of some of the downsides to a 529 are it does need to be used for education, right? And so you save, if you save all this money and then the kid's like, wow, I got this amazing scholarship. I don't need the money. Then what, right? Or if the child's like, hey, I want to start my own business. I'm not going to college, and then what? And so you have a couple options. You can actually change that money between siblings, right? So if one sibling needs it, the other one doesn't, you can actually move money over if you want to do that. You can move it to grandkids. You can pull it out and pay a penalty, which isn't the end of the world, but it's not ideal. Or you can actually convert money from a 529 over to a Roth IRA. There's a limit on that. You can only do $35,000 over cumulatively over a child's lifespan, right? Over into a Roth IRA. But then it's in a Roth IRA, and it kind of almost goes back to the Trump accounts, right? Slightly different, but now we've got IRA money for kids, and there's rules on distributions and growth and things like that.
Okay. Love that. Custodial accounts. So UGMAs, UTMAs.
Yeah. UTMAs specifically are one of the crowd favorites. What's nice about a UTMA account is you can save money into that account. It is in the child's social security number, which usually allows them to be in a lower tax bracket. And so we can, if these accounts, one of the benefits of a 529 is you can save a lot of money into a 529 and enjoy all the tax benefits of that. A UTMA, you start to phase out of some of those benefits, and this is just general, like kind of rule of thumb, but around $20,000 to $30,000 in that account, you start marginally losing some of that tax benefit. And so it's smaller dollar amounts. However, it's nice because the UTMA has full flexibility. You can use that money before the child's 18. It just needs to be used for the child's benefit. If you want to use that money for a car, if you want to use that money for a wedding, if you want to use that money for college, it's there for the child's benefit. One of the downsides, though, is that money is technically becomes the child's at age 21, right? So once that child turns 21, it's their money, and you might not like the ideas that they have, right? They might they might think that gambling might be the best way to grow the money, and there's really nothing you can do to stop that. And so that's where UTMAs get maybe a little bit touchy.
Yeah, I think one on the age 21, right? Age majority will differ by state. Some states it's age 18, and I'm not sure that everybody at age 18, if you put a lot of money into the UTMA accounts, into the Unified Trust for Minors accounts, if that necessarily is being made the best decisions by that minor. And they're no longer a minor. They're 21. They're now an adult, or 18. They're now an adult. And if they want to, go on a world, spending spree, they can do that, right? And if they want to take 5 years off or 4 years off of life and go spend it, they can do that. And so it does, in my opinion, it takes a lot of education and working with those kids as they're going up to kind of set those expectations. And generally that's done by most families to where that's not too big of an issue. The other thing on the Unified Trust for Minors accounts in comparison to the 529s is the investment choices. The investment choices are wide open in a UTMA account to where you can do CDs, you can do mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, you can do anything you want inside of that UTMA within reason. As far as an investment purpose, where like the Trump accounts are going to be limited to a low-cost index, 529 accounts typically have a abbreviated or a short list menu of investment choices, to where you may have 20 different mutual funds that you can pick from or something like that. And so there's definitely a difference on investment availability between the different types of accounts, in addition to the purpose and what you want to use it for. And so I think you need to just kind of look and say, okay, what really am I trying to fund, and what message am I sending to the kids and kind of our family based on which area are we trying to save into?
Yeah. That's where you come along, right?
That's where we come along.
PlanWithBaxter.com. Yeah, you can help them kind of go through those and make those decisions.
We're here for you.
Yeah, very good. And then finally, the Roth IRA for kids.
Yeah. And we kind of alluded to that earlier, right? That people do workaround. The nice thing about a Roth IRA, looking back at those numbers that we looked at earlier, right? $26.9 million at 65, that is 100% taxable, right? So every time you pull a dollar out of that, you're going to be taxed as income. And so that's a fairly significant tax burden, and nobody knows what taxes are going to be, 65 years from now. And so sometimes people like the idea of a Roth IRA.
It seems like so long from now. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you're literally talking about, 2100 or close to it, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, you're talking a long time, I guess 2090, right? To be precise. But I mean, you're talking a long time from now.
And I heard this morning on the news that they're not just thinking about, but making huge investments in, what are where you store data centers are going to be in space. I'm like,
oh, absolutely.
And it's only 2025, let alone like 2100 or whatever. Like, this is insane.
Yeah, but there's so many satellites up in the sky right now.
Oh, boy.
So, I don't think
not enough
that's
room
very
in
far
space.
off.
Yeah. It'll be a different world.
Yeah.
I think that's what we do know. But anyway, but a Roth would grow tax-free, right? And so people like that idea of growing tax-free. Some of the hard parts, though, is you have to have earned income. So the child has to have earned income to make a contribution. And so people can get around that, if they can employ their kid, if they're self-employed, things like that. but those can be a little bit more difficult. Once your child is maybe a teenager, right, and they're earning some money and they've got a W-2, then it's easier to save, right? And does that need to come straight from the W-2 directly into the IRA? No, right? We just need to be able to show the income and get the contribution in there, and so those can be beneficial accounts. But I think when everything's said and done, it's interesting. They all just have their own pros and cons, right? The UTMAs, the Roth IRAs, the 529s, the Trump accounts, and that's where it's fun to work with an advisor, and we can sit down and say, what are your goals? What are you trying to save for? What are our limitations? What are our dreams? And we can kind of talk through the pros and cons of each.
Love that. Rex, anything else?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just keep going kind of back to the Trump accounts because they're new, and so it's kind of exciting.
It's a big deal, yeah.
Things like that, right? But if you think about that, and somebody had max funded that, and now they've got $26.9 million when they're 65, they're going to be subject to mandatory distributions on that IRA account at age 75, right? So 10 years later. So probably one more doubling period, right? So from 26.9, again, let's say they don't touch it. So you're at roughly $52 million in there.
Yeah.
And, you're required to pull out roughly 4% that first year. Right.
Oh,
so your mandatory
$2 million.
$2 million.
Mandatory
that first year
distribution.
is a mandatory
Wow.
distribution that's going to put you, in
knows,
today's
right.
world,
Yeah.
the top tax bracket.
Yeah.
Right, which is 37% currently. But the top tax bracket in the U.S. has been as high in our history as 91% was the top tax bracket at one point in time. Right? And so do they change that at some point so that
the government gets like 90% of their money back?
They're like, right, we got you.
Right. I mean, who got the last laugh on that one?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
But hold on, before we go down crazy conspiracy,
That's
Right,
wild.
crazy rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Right.
Tax brackets are adjusting for inflation, right? And so like
Thanks, Brandon. Keep us in line. Yeah.
Keep us
so
grounded.
$2 million, right? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
And they're not currently 91%. They're,
But the planning opportunities, right? When I
Right.
think about that, when you're working with your financial advisors and things like that, the planning opportunities of the future are going to be enormous.
Right.
Because, how much of that are we doing through, charitably giving at that point? Or how much of that are we living on? Or how much
Roth
are we,
conversions.
Or it's some more exotic estate planning techniques to where you're using, dynasty trusts and generation skipping trusts and different things like that on these kinds of monies. And so I think the planning opportunities are really exciting from my vantage point. I mean, this is what gets me a little bit juiced. So,
Wow, this has been fun. Thanks, you guys, for bringing all the numbers and everything today on the Trump accounts. This is new, and so we'll have to revisit this at a July time, I think, as you guys get more information. So love that. Again, planwithbaxter.com for more information from the financial planners we had on the podcast today. This podcast was produced by the Banyan Collective and recorded in our camp trailer studio located inside the Monarch building. If you found value in the podcast, which I know you did, you should consider giving us a donation, or you just give us your money at buymeacoffee.com/Banyan Media. You can watch and subscribe to us. If you're not already subscribed to us on YouTube, but you can find us there and see our wonderful, beautiful faces at Through the Pines, like our Facebook page at Pines Podcast, and follow us on Instagram when you can see shorts from the program. And then you don't have to watch the whole thing. We'll just catch you up on the shorts on Instagram, Pines_podcast. This has been Through the Pines, reminding you to use yesterday's dollars to finance tomorrow's dreams.